Your brand isn't growing as quickly as you hoped. You're posting day after day and the content just does not seem to be taking off. Plus the sales goals that you set for yourself seem further off now than when you started. Well, I just want to tell you that none of this is your fault. You're good at the stuff that you've been put on earth to do, but no one's taught you the skill of marketing and branding. What I'm going to introduce you to in this video is a concept that if you can implement starting today, you will tap into explosive brand growth. Whether it's online, in person, whatever it is, it all comes down to the things you say, the way you position it, and the way you put your brand out into the world. And you start to curate your brand's essence. All right, so let's dive in. Now, before we do, I just want to define what growth means when it comes to branding. Most people think it's more followers, having a huge audience, all right? But me and my team at Brave Brand, we've seen firsthand that more followers does not necessarily mean more growth. Yes, you might have a big audience, but there's a huge difference between audience growth and actual brand and business growth. The way that we define growth is very simple. It is the amount of revenue your brand generates. In business, success is incredibly clear-cut. All we have to do is look at your current bank balance, and that'll give us a really good understanding as to how successful your brand's efforts have been, whether it's your marketing, your product, whatever it is. It's very black and white. In most instances, looking at your bank balance is going to be something that scares you. If it doesn't scare you, this video probably isn't for you. You're doing incredibly well. There are a few things you can do to relieve this issue, because if you want your brand to have longevity, you need to be able to monetize it and make money. We are firm believers at Brave Brand in the mission first, but also the commission. You should be able to get paid for what you love to do. If you're not, there is something wrong. There's a hole that needs to be plugged. So let me ask you a question. Would you rather have 100K followers and $500 in the bank? Or would you rather have 1,000 engaged followers and 100K in the bank? All right, which would you prefer? All right, and that really kicks off the premise for this video. We're going to be talking about a strategy that you can do to grow your brand's revenues without being extremely famous. It is what people are doing all over the internet today. You don't need to have a lot of followers to be successful. You don't need to have a lot of followers to leave your job and become a brand builder and content creator. There is a clear definition that I want you to understand, and the difference between becoming an influencer versus becoming a brand that is a beacon of hope for people. Now, when I closed down my branding and video agency in London, I thought, let me try my hand at this. How cool would it be to have a huge audience, have a lot of people follow me? I then started working with a client who had about 7 million followers across all platforms. I realized pretty quickly that was not something I wanted to replicate in my life. That business on the back end was a complete shit show. It had no systems in place, the team hated working there, and it was just an absolute nightmare. There were way too many people. They had a lot of people working for them, but not a lot of people loved what they were doing. Not a lot of people knew what they were doing, and so it caused a lot of chaos in the business. That made me think, I don't want to have anything to do with that. We helped them clean up their systems and basically implement a bunch of sales processes to increase the amount of revenue and get a bigger share of the amount of followers they had to actually be monetized. The thing I realized pretty quickly was they had a huge media operation. They were posting content consistently every day, as much content as you can possibly imagine, getting a lot of engagement. But what I realized was they had a very hard time actually monetizing that audience. Their calendars every single week were completely filled out, blocked out. People were booking in calls left, right, and center. But of those calls, barely anyone actually showed up. The people that did show up were terrible quality leads who weren't actually interested in buying what they had to offer. So you can imagine the sales team were very demotivated. All right, and so in contrast to this, we had a client who had about 3,000 followers on social media, and they were making 20K per month consistently without running paid ads and a clear pathway to scaling up to 100K and beyond. This business was run by 3 people. It was systemized, it was automated, it was leveraged, it was digital, and those guys were living a great lifestyle. They weren't stressing about their business. They weren't managing a 10 to 20 person team. They had streamlined everything in a perfect and powerful manner. And so with this contrast, I'll ask you again, which business would you rather have? Would you rather have 7 million followers? Would you rather be making 20 grand per month with the ability to scale to $1 million business over the space of 2 to 3 years? Well, the key point I want you to understand here is that the difference between these two businesses is one of the businesses made it all about them, and the other business made it all about the people they were talking to. And to just take a guess which one was which. All right, the influencer account was all about them. It was basically a shrine to their lives, to what they believed in, to what they wanted to do. And the other business was completely centered and built around their target audience and their customer. And so if you can understand that the best brands that grow organically, naturally, and effortlessly are the ones that have effectively positioned themselves as the guides along the journey of their clients. And the clients are actually the heroes of the story. If you've ever seen the hero's journey, you'll understand that this is ingrained in us as human beings. If we are on a journey, we are only thinking about how can we get ahead, and we need guides, we need mentors along the way. Because how else are we going to get out and actually slay the dragon in front of us? All right, and so a great book on this is StoryBrand by Donald Miller, and he talks about this process, that the best brands are the story brands. They leverage a certain type of story, which is based on the hero's journey. This is a point of difference that I want you to understand, because this is where you're going to unlock a lot of growth online. This is what's going to set you apart from the big influencer accounts and actually be able to monetize yourself a lot sooner with a smaller audience. I want you to imagine yourself in this story. I want you to think to yourself, where do you fit into this and where does your client fit into this? And so the process that he takes people through in StoryBrand is understanding that in every single story and every single journey, there is a character, and that character has a problem. In order for that character to overcome that problem, they need someone to help them. They need a guide. If you look at the Lord of the Rings, for example, Frodo had a problem. He had this ring and he had this journey that he had to go on, but he did not know if he could do it. He didn't believe in himself. Frodo needed the support of someone, a guide who could actually help him and advise him and tell him what to do. All right, and then enter in Gandalf. Gandalf rode into the Shire on the back of his horse and carriage and took Frodo on this journey. He gave him the call to action, okay? And so Gandalf was the guide that Frodo met, all right? And so Gandalf then gave Frodo a plan. He was like, you have to take the ring to the depths of Mordor and throw the ring into the flippin' burning fires of the flame. All right, and so that was the plan. Off they went on this huge hero's journey with many challenges, ups and downs, but the guide was with them all the way. Frodo made it there across like an amazing trilogy of films, but eventually got to the result, all right? And so he became this hero in the process, all right? Frodo was the hero of that story. Gandalf was the guide who guided him through. This is very important to understand, because the key here is, who are you? Are you Gandalf or are you Frodo? I would argue that business A, the influencer business, they thought they were Frodo. They were talking about themselves all the time, their journey, their ups and downs, their challenges. Where actually the business that had more growth and the business that had more success was the one who positioned themselves as Gandalf. They were the guide helping Frodo along the journey. The hero, Frodo, aka the hero of the story, was their client. Their client was the one going through the ups and downs, because at the end of the day, that is what it is. All right, your client only cares about how they can get to their result. All right, and they are the ones who have to walk through the valley of the fire of death. And so if you feed this story brand concept into the soul of your brand's essence will start to become this trustworthy feeling for people. They will see you as the guide to their biggest problems. People will want to work with you. They will say, I don't want to go on this journey by myself. I will die. I'll be eaten by an orc. All right, I'll fall off the side of the cliff if I don't work with this guide. The stories you tell, the way you position your brand, the way you write your copy, the way you put your websites together, the way you write your content has to be from that perspective. And if it isn't, you will alienate people. This really is the key to motivating people to take actions on your offer rather than just kicking the can down the road. Because I'm sure you've had this on a sales call before where people say, oh, I'm not ready. I want to join in a month's time. I want to join next year. Now's not the right time for me. The problem is that they just don't see you as the source, the shortcut to where they want to go. They probably don't feel like they're in enough pain, in which case you haven't shown them the dangers that lie ahead if they don't decide to work with you. All right, because that is really the key to sales. You know what lies ahead for them. They don't. If you want to motivate someone to take action with you, you show them the map. You're like, hey, this is what lies ahead. If you don't take action on this, if you don't work with someone who knows what they're doing, this is what your life's going to look like. That's a motivating factor. If someone told me that, I'm going to be inclined to work with someone who has the roadmap that can help me navigate through this. All right, so it's very, very important that you change your behavior today to make this apply to your brand so you can start growing your brand's revenues. Just get a notepad out and write these things down. Make sure you understand it. The first thing I want you to understand is that your client, the hero of the story, is only interested in one thing. What benefits are in this thing for me? All right, people's time and attention today is limited, and their brains are constantly trying to answer this question to avoid wasting time on things that are not relevant for them. When someone sees your post, it needs to call out to them. It needs to be about their needs and their benefits. Otherwise, they're simply going to scroll away. Most influencer accounts like Business Aid are simply bigging themselves up. They're talking about themselves. It's me. It's I did this. I created that. Where in actual fact, they should switch that and start talking to you, the hero. All right. The way we actually put a label on this is that those influencer accounts who are doing that are being completely me-centric, which means they are at the center of their universe. They are the hero of their own brand. And now for a second, if we can understand that your client and your prospect is also completely me-centric to themselves, they're only thinking about what benefits are in this thing for me. They aren't marketing, they aren't putting products out there. All they care about is how can I get out of the pain that I'm in as quickly as possible. So they are also completely me-centric. And so if both the creator and the consumer are me-centric, attraction becomes impossible. Think about it. How could attraction be possible? If you look at two negative ions, they naturally repel each other. And so if you are me-centric and your client is me-centric, attraction is not possible. It's completely impossible. Now, the next time you're on social media, think about it. When you see someone posting a piece of content, you just scroll away from it. Most of the time, that person is not speaking to your benefits. They're speaking about their me-centricity. When you're on social media and you see something that draws you in and grabs your attention, most of the time, that content is focusing on the value and they're speaking to your needs, which creates this beautiful attraction. So try and look out for that next time. The key then is to switch your marketing focus away from being about you to being completely them-centric to your viewer, which means you understand that your client is completely me-centric, so you want to be completely them-centric. So that way we create this beautiful positive and negative effect where attraction becomes inevitable. But how do we do that? Good question. It starts by leading with the value you have to offer your customers. This begins by understanding the problems they are struggling with and tailor-making your content to speak to these issues and offering the solutions out of them. That is where value is created. Understanding that people are motivated to move out of pain and towards pleasure. If you can position yourself as the solution to their problems, then you are creating value. That is when people say, post something high value. That is the definition of it, all right? It is your ability to communicate to someone how to get them out of the pain they're in and towards the desired outcome that they want, because they are only interested in what benefits are in it for them. They don't care about you speaking about yourself and bigging yourself up as much as most influencers do. So if you can start to understand exactly what problems your clients are facing, and you can begin creating content and ideas that help them out of pain, speaking to their own me-centricity by leading with the value you have to offer, which is essentially the benefits they want to experience. Now, when you do this, something really cool happens. This is where the magic lies in marketing and advertising and branding. you begin to create this beautiful attraction of your dream clients into your orbit, because they become attracted to the value that you have to offer, because you're speaking to their needs. They feel like you've torn a page out of their diary and you're reading it back to them. You know how they feel. All right, that is so, so important in creating trust in today's world. You need to demonstrate to them that you understand their problems to some degree, even more than they do. And then you need to demonstrate that you have the solution to those problems. And so our two negative repelling ions become a positive and a negative, and they start attracting each other naturally and effortlessly. And so your brand now is all about your client and what's in it for them. Value is now being created, and your brand is going to start growing faster than you could ever have imagined. This is what all the best Brave Brand clients have done. And anyone who's exploded on social media, exploded their revenues, they have done exactly this process. They've switched to be completely focused on what benefits are in it for their clients and their customers. And so if you want to go deeper on this topic, hit the link in the description. I've got a free 6-part video series on this exact thing. There's a bunch of other cool resources and information in there for you as well. So dive in there. I'll see you there. If you like this video, like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.